Hi guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. And well, it feels like we've all been here before. Steve Bruce once again fights back against the Newcastle fans. He claims that the only reason Newcastle's takeover went through is because he kept the team in the Premier League. I wish I was making this up. But anyway guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. I know I've seen some YouTube channels or people in the comment section saying that, oh, why am I talking about Steve Bruce, you know, let's move on from him. But trust me, I have moved on from him. I booked flights to Lisbon yesterday. I can't wait to get down there next month to watch Newcastle play. But there's one person that hasn't moved on, and it's Steve Bruce. He continuously reminds everyone of his time at Newcastle. He comes out and he continues to bash the fans for the way they treat him. I've had enough of it now. He continues to come out and just chat utter garbage, and he can't let things slide. He's at West Brom now. You need to focus on that football club, but still, despite the fact he's employed there, he still continues to take shots at this club. And I don't like people that take shots at this club. That's the only way I can put it. And some of these comments are just ridiculous. I stand by that he is the most deluded manager I have ever seen at Newcastle United. They won't get topped, but that's just the start with, guys. Wait until we get into these quotes. But anyway though, if you're new to the channel, make sure to head down there, hit that subscribe button, and make sure to also get down there, smash that like button. It really helps out with the video. And finally, question of the day: is Steve Bruce the reason Newcastle's takeover went through? Let me know in the comment sections. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. Before we get into the main event though, we've got to go for everything else first. Dan Ashworth, he's been announced that today he will start his work in Newcastle United after Premier League approval. Now, I do believe in his gardening leave that he would have had notes down, for example, or he would have been somewhat working behind the scenes. I don't believe he's just going to start with nowhere now. I do think he's definitely planned this summer before he got announced at the club. So yeah, he's officially starting now for Newcastle, which is great to see. As you can see in that quote there, the long-term success. You're going to keep hearing the words long-term. I'm going to talk about this a bit more in the video about Moussa Diaby, but long-term is the aim for Newcastle. We are making moves now that will affect us in 5 years' time. We're thinking far ahead, which is something that the club has never done before. I'm thinking far ahead will benefit us big time. We'll be prepared for whatever comes. Not everything's going to be perfect for Newcastle. There'll be mistakes at times. There'll be players that come in and just don't perform. But that's fine, because the long-term goals of this football club will allow us to correct those mistakes and not put ourselves back into a hole which we've always been under a previous owner. So yeah, it's great to see him in. I can't wait to see what he does. I'm looking forward to seeing how he works with the other squads as well. He'll be involved with the academies as well as the women's team. So I'm quite intrigued to see how he progresses with the teams. But yeah, Dan Ashworth has officially started his work now. And speaking of Dan Ashworth, a really interesting quote today in The Athletic states that he's set to offload 1/3 of Newcastle's senior players. So out of 31 players, he's trying to get rid of about 10 of them at once, which is, impressive to say the least. It's going to be quite hard. Now, I've seen Paul from the Two Review talk about it today, actually, about being hard to offload players. Now, yes, it will be hard to offload some of them due to their mega contracts. And the likes of Kieran Clark, for example, I just don't think will want to leave. I think he refused the loan move back in January. And he's just going to be an absolute pain in the arse to try and get rid of. He knows he's getting a lot of money, or just sit back and just refuse to cooperate, I could imagine. So yeah, there'll be some players that'll be quite hard to offload, but Dan Ashworth is an expert at being able to find appropriate clubs for these players to move to on a loan deal or permanent. And he's quite good at convincing our clubs as well of these players' good qualities and traits. So I don't think 10 will go. I think that's a bit of a push, but I do see about 6 to 7 of them leaving this summer. And that'll be down to the manager, Dan Ashworth, and the owners is getting shot at the players we don't need anymore and bringing in the ones we do need. So expect a lot of offloading. There hasn't been much at the minute, but once it's about a month or so into the transfer window, I expect a lot of players to start moving in and out. Onto the transfers now. So Sky Sports today have announced that Newcastle are interested in trying to get Ismail Sarr from Watford as well as Moussa Diaby from Leverkusen. Now, I'll begin off with Sarr. I remember talking about him a couple of weeks ago, because I do actually think Newcastle will sign him this summer. I don't think it's going to be an amazing sign, but it's cheap, it's smart, and it's someone that's going to go in there and just help the squad depth. I think especially in the right hand side, we haven't really got the attacking threat, and he's someone that in the first month or so for Watford at the start of last season, he was playing well. So if we can get that similar form out of him and be a bit more consistent throughout the season, I do think he'd be a decent player. As for Moussa Diaby though, obviously he's just different gravy. Double figures in goals and assists last season. It's going to cost Newcastle about upwards of 50 to 60 million pounds, which is why that one's going to be quite tricky. But you're definitely interested in signing them, as you can see there. Newcastle are going to be interested in signing a lot of top-level stars. We're not going to buy all of them, of course, but I do actually see us getting between 1 to 2 big players. And again, we spoke about this journalist and they're only going to spend £60 million, but on Ekatike is going to be about 20 to 30 million just on him alone. There might be instalments, admittedly, yes, but we can do instalments on all sorts of players and financial fair play. There's a lot of ways he can work around it, which people need to remember, but things are looking good. The club is eager to get some players and they're eager to get some top level players in this, well, as you can see, the likes of Diaby, Piquet, Bottom, we keep going on and on. But yeah, I'll just talk about that quickly now, because I know for a fact I had a few messages on Instagram from people asking about it, so there you are, it's in the video now. But yeah, I think that's pretty much about it for everything else. Let's talk about the main event now. Former Newcastle United manager Steve Bruce once again comes out with more comments about the club. I mean, when did he get sacked now? Was it like 7 months ago or something? But he continues to come out and point the finger to everyone else. That is always his biggest problem at Newcastle. He never took responsibility. He always blamed everyone else. It was never his fault. And I've had enough of it now. Honestly, I'm sick of seeing these comments he's making about the club. Why is he doing this? I don't get the logic of these comments. I mean, look at the exclusive article from the Mirror here. You can even see in the title that the Mirror is trying to make him look bad. So why is Steve Bruce cooperating? I don't understand it. Why is he going on about Newcastle so much? Your time is done. You're not coming back to the football club. What else do I say? Time has ticked on by and you're not here anymore. You're at West Brom. You got focus on getting them to the playoffs next season. Why is he continuing to go on about us? And the quotes are just ridiculous. But yeah, there's the introduction there. Let's actually see what one of his quotes were. The first thing Steve Bruce says in the article, he straight away plays the victim. Oh, I couldn't finish my managerial career like that. I had to come out of retirement. I had to do one more job because those fans are so horrible to me. I was being ridiculed. Oh, well, there was a reason why you're being ridiculed, Steve, because you did the bare minimum at this football club. Time and time again. You never motivate those players. You threw them under the bus every single time. You bigged up teams that we should have beat time in and time out. The likes of Sheffield United and West Brom. I mean, there's teams that will just pop out of the Championship. Oh, well, Sheffield United, you know, it's going to be a tough fixture for us today. Honestly, he just looks down in his team every single time. How is the team supposed to be motivated going at the matches where in the press conference you're coming out and saying how hard these games are, when in hindsight we should be comfortably beating some of these teams? And I mean, this negative attitude, this defensive mind of football, and this mindset, it was this horrible mindset that this club was going to go nowhere. I mean, yes, Mike Ashley was a terrible owner, yes, 100%. But you never once motivated that team. You're not a leader, you're not an inspiration. You do not motivate anyone in that dressing room to get going. And you want to come out and say these comments, well, Steve, this season in the 7 matches you had, we won at 0. Watford away was the only game where we were better than the opposition team. Every other match we were second best, and it showed on the pitch. We got players like Callum Wilson come out in their own interview saying that, well, in the first game of the season against West Ham, we weren't fit enough. And whose job is that? That's your job, to make sure the players are fit. And why weren't those players fit? Oh, I'll tell you why, because you were barely training them. They're going in 2 or 3 times a week for 2 or 3 hour sessions, whereas Eddie Howe goes in for 12-hour shifts 5 or 6 times a week. I mean, there's such a clear difference between the two managers. It's just a farce. But yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's see what else he has to say. And speaking of those training sessions, he actually comes out next and says how people were saying that he didn't train the players enough, and he started talking about that. Well, listen, Steve, I saw firsthand you weren't training those players. I saw it on the football pitch against the likes of West Ham, likes of Southampton, where we were going on that pitch and we were second best because the players were so paggered out. I remember actually going to the training ground on Eddie Howe's first day, and I watched the training session, and you can see after the training session, pretty much the full team's lying on the floor, exhausted. They can't even breathe, some of the players, because they're so unfit. And once again, that was you, Steve. You're supposed to keep those players fit, and you failed at your job. And how can you sit there and play the victim when you couldn't do your job? You got an £8 million payout for getting sacked. I mean, in the real life world, if you got sacked from your job, you get nothing. I mean, that's just how it works. But when you're a football manager, you get a mega contract from the previous owner, £8 million payout for doing a crap job. I mean, how can you sit there and feel sorry for this guy? And he continuously comes out and he slates the team, he slates the club, and he slates these fans, saying that it was because of him that the takeover went through. I'm even talking about that quote here, and I'm already ticked off. I mean, what do I say? This guy, he's so deluded. Everything he says is just nonsensical. It doesn't make any logic. It just, I mean, let's just get to the next quote. I've had enough of this. I don't believe what I'm saying here. Steve Bruce comes out and for the first time ever takes responsibility. Look at this quote here. He comes out and says that he knows that his football wasn't attractive. He knows that Newcastle fans were fed up, and he holds his hand up. I mean, well done, Steve. The only problem is you're 7 months too late. If you said this while you were still employed at Newcastle, fans would bash you less, fans would. But you know what? It's not Steve Bruce's fault, it's the owner's fault, and they'll slag the owner off more. But whereas in the press conference you did, all he did was blame the journalists. You were kicking off and arguing with the journalists constantly. When Newcastle fans weren't allowed to go to the stadium due to COVID, you just, I mean, some of the comments you made were just ridiculous. And when they came back, I mean, you had a perfect opportunity to come out and say, well, I'm doing what I can, but I can only do so much. And then if you come out and, you know what, be reasonable and actually explain why you do certain things, and fans would understand you, but you didn't. You always were defensive. You always came out and you always blamed our people. That's why it takes so many people off. And you got no one to blame but yourself. This is actually a good quote for once. But the only thing is, in the same article, there's so many other ridiculous quotes. And again, it's 7 months too late. So, I mean, what do I say? Well done, Steve. But, I mean, I'm going to say well done now, but the next quote's just ludicrous. So, yeah. Well, this is the part you guys have all been waiting for. Keeping Newcastle United was worth something. If Newcastle won the championship with the takeover went through, I'm not too sure. Oh my God, Steve. I am getting annoyed now. If it wasn't for the takeover, we would have been in the championship this season. Don't forget, we were 19th when you were sacked, winless in 7. It took us 14 games before we won one. Oh. He wants to come out and he wants to take credit for the takeover going through. How about the woman for 5 years that tried to get this takeover go through, was told no from the Premier League? Amanda Slade was told no from the Premier League. This takeover would not happen. She had to go through all the legal issues, had to go through all the court cases. She never once gave up this team. And she never once went, you know what, let's go buy Chelsea, let's go buy Tottenham, let's go buy, or West Ham, I don't know. She always stuck by Newcastle because she knew how much this meant to the people. She knew how important this club was to her and to the takeover and to everyone involved. And Steve wants to come out and just completely crap all over that and just go, oh, you know what, well, I kept this in the Premier League, so, you know, the takeover went through because of me. Well, that logic, right? For example, let's say it's a birthday party, it's like a cake on the table. That's like me having a slice of cake. It's Steve Bruce taking that piece of cake, eating it, and then because someone else saw it and it feels bad for me, that person gives me that slice of cake, and then Steve Bruce goes, oh, you know what? You only got that slice of cake because of me. Well, no, Steve. I mean, this guy, for example, on Twitter, yeah, this might be a better analogy, saying that, well, if you crash your car and Steve Bruce just goes, well, you know what, you got a new car because of me. I mean, it is quite similar. I don't get this. They completely destroyed this club inside out along with Mike Ashley, and he wants to take credit for the takeover. No, we needed this takeover to happen because of people like you. Oh, no. I just can't believe some of the quotes I'm saying. They're so ludicrous. I've said it before and I said it again. This guy's just deluded. He has probably the worst PR I've ever seen out of any coach in football. If he had a better PR team that tells you know what, Steve, I don't think you should say this, yet he might, you know what, not get just crapped on so much by fans. But it's the fact he comes out with these quotes and they're so stupid and they're so over the top, then I don't know what to say anymore. This guy just digs a hole and he digs it further and further and further, and now he can't climb out of that hole. I'm just lost for words. How does he think in any capacity he was the reason that the Newcastle's ticket went through? I'm just lost for words, guys. But anyway, let me know what you thought down below. I know this video's been quite long, but I had a lot I want to say about this. It really did get under my skin once again, as it always does. But yeah, anyway, guys, there won't be a video out on the channel tomorrow. I'll be going on holiday, so I'll have a day off so I can sort all that out. But I'll be back in a couple of days' time. Thank you guys for watching. Take care. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.